But enough talking about how we do the show. What do you say we just... shit. Fuck, God damn it. Fuck, God damn it. All right. Hey, YouTube, don't worry. You guys get this awesome part of the stream. There we go. All right. But enough talking about how we do the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes.
Ladies and gents, clear out the vents. Welcome everybody to the Justin Robert Young hosted experience called Politics. My name is Justin Robert Young. We have so much to talk to you about right now. Man, I think we've talked about how much I hate covering Congress. Covering Congress is the worst. I like covering congressional elections because congressional elections are kind of like the college football to the NFL's presidential elections. You know, like they're like most of everything there. You just get like a few more people that are definitely not ready for the next level. That just makes things a lot more interesting sometimes. And sometimes it's just uninteresting because it's a bunch of blowouts. But in general, I hate covering Congress. But we got a ton to talk about now because, Jeff Flake is out. Jeff Flake pulled a half-baked on the way out. Jeff Flake was just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. I'm out. Just lighting people up. Lighting up Donald Trump. Meanwhile, a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We have a great article in The Atlantic about how the great anthropological studying that is going on in flyover country by those who are amazed that Donald Trump won the election. We have a claim that Alex Jones's supplements kill your sperm. We all wonder aloud whether or not George H.W. Bush, the 91-year-old George H.W. Bush 41, grabbed that ass though. Do we know whether or not George H.W. Bush, the 41st president of the United States of America, indeed grabbed that ass though? And so much more. We have a 9-year-old on the record. We have a great pole dance coming up. Just so much to do. But let's go ahead and start off with the big news of the day, and that is indeed Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake is the non-John McCain senator from Arizona. He is or was gearing up to run again for a seat. And in a big surprise, he decided that he was no longer going to do that. He's like, I didn't know I had to run for my seat. So here we go. This is his bombshell Senate speech. Mr. President, I rise today to say enough. Let's hear just a little bit from the middle. This is Senator Jeff Flake saying he's not going to run.
That the royal mess that we've created are justified, but anger and resentment are not a governing philosophy. There is an undeniable potency to a populist appeal by mischaracterizing or misunderstanding our problems and giving in to the impulse to scapegoat and belittle. The impulse to scapegoat and belittle threatens to turn us into a fearful, backward-looking people.
Damn. Fearful and backwards looking? Was it backwards looking like that lady who got her butt grabbed by Bush 41? What? Tell you what, man. Tell you what, I should be arrested for trying to sick burn a 91-year-old veteran and former president. Might have the Social Security, Secret Security come out. Maybe Social Security too, considering he's so fucking old. Maybe for the sick burns I was laying on that dude. We'll get to him in a second. All right. So here's effectively what happened. Here's what's gonna get headlines, what is already getting headlines, right? There is a very high likelihood that Jeff Flake was going to lose in his own party's primary. I mean, it is very, very clear that when Donald Trump is in the White House, that the populace, there is a national movement against establishment candidates and for insurgent candidates. In a lot of ways, it is very similar to what happened with the Tea Party during Obama's first term, where all of a sudden there was just this idea that establishment Republicans had drifted too far away from their grassroots and that there needed to be fresh blood. Now, then we got a bunch of just like loons with, Christine O'Donnell and I don't even want to say crazy. I mean, because to me, all politicians are kind of crazy. I mean, not ready for prime time. Like with Christine O'Donnell, she couldn't talk her way out of "Are you a witch?" Not being able to talk your way out of the question "Are you a witch?" is kind of like losing to the first Goomba in the first Mario. When you're just like, you're first playing it for the first time. I remember my mom was playing Mario for the first time, and she just could not figure out how to time a jump, and it would just run right into that first Goomba. Always. Like, to the point where I always wondered, is there a whole class of people for whom don't know about Bowser? There is no Bowser to them. There are no pipes. There are no stars. There are no, maybe a mushroom in that first screen, right? But there is just that one Goomba. That one Goomba is the game for them. And that was Christine O'Donnell and her, I cannot figure out whether or not I am successfully conveying to the populace that I'm not a witch. And we're going to see exactly how different this crop of right-wing challengers to establishment conservatives are in comparison to that generation. The difference now is there's a little bit more money and things are a little bit more organized through the Bannon-Mercer kind of connection, of which Kelly Ward, who is running against Jeff Flake, is one. Kelly Ward is now essentially running unopposed for the Republican primary, and now she will match up with the Democrat in that general election in 2018. But you guys know what this means, right? I mean, if there's one less Republican incumbent, then, well,
Just a wave.
We are on Wave Watch, baby. We are on Wave Watch. Because Kelly Ward, there is no guarantees that Kelly Ward is somebody that will not implode during this general election. Now, here's the question. And by the way, we now have a Discord. You can go ahead and get in on this Discord. If you're not familiar with what a Discord is, well, then allow me to let you guys know. It is, think of like a Slack that has a lot of Slack elements, but is a little bit more relaxed, You can basically have Slack features without having to be open to, watching your work talk to you, I like it a lot. It's very, very popular with a lot of Twitch streamers, which is where you can watch us live, twitch.tv/Justin R. Young. But we got a great a Slack here. Just go ahead, bit.ly/Jury Politics, JURY Politics. That'll get you a invitation. It's free. Doesn't cost you nothing. You just get in there and we can all talk politics all the time. But I had a great conversation with Sidon, who I believe is here in the in the chat. Which is the current nastiest shit sliding down the Trump administration's windshield? The hot Flake take or the whitefish totally unsuspicious $300 million contract for Puerto Rico? I think that's what a lot of people are trying to wonder. Not necessarily the whitefish thing, which is super sketchy and super shady. And if you're unaware, a company that had 2 employees at the time that Maria hit Puerto Rico now has the $300 million contract to rebuild Puerto Rico's energy grid, which is just amazing. Just amazing. It tells you everything you need to know about government contracts. Right? Just cutting off your nose to spite your face. They're going to give a company that started up 5 seconds ago $300 million instead of giving one that could probably do it faster or better, $500 million, so they can save $300 and then eventually build an inferior product that they're going to have problems with for the next couple decades. Or not. I don't want to shit on whitefish. I have no idea what their track record is. Oh, yeah, because they literally had no track record until 5 minutes ago. But meanwhile, is Jeff Flake leaving good or bad for Donald Trump? If you have listened to this podcast, then you know that I am currently of the belief that Donald Trump does not give a rat's ass if he loses the Senate or Congress. In fact, I think he'd prefer to lose both. I think Donald Trump and the America First Brain Trust believe that he is going to be dealing from a better position of strength if he is doubling down on the idea that all the establishment cucks must go, and the only people that can be in there working hard for America are America First conservatives. Bannon, Mercer conservatives. And if that means a bloodletting, then that's fine. And I'll tell you, it's not the craziest idea. I mean, I know I've been repeating it constantly over and over and over, but Obama won re-election, jumping up and down and saying that these people won't work for me, so you got to put me back there. And, the only difference between that strategy and what Trump would do is saying that, hey, look, I tried it with people in my own party, but my own party wouldn't help me. My own party was out here in these streets saying root and branch Obamacare. They were saying tax cuts, get the economy moving again. They were saying immigration. And then I got in there and I gave them all the power they could possibly want. And what did they do? Well, they sat on all of it for so long that they hatched it. And it turns out that hatchling was their own primary competitors, and now we're here. So does Donald Trump, who, by the way, got all up in Jeff Flake's booty hole a couple days ago while giving a rally in Phoenix, or Arizona, rather. I forget where in Arizona. I think it was Phoenix. Called the other senator from Arizona weak, and then followed up on Twitter saying, hey, Jeff Flake is weak, in case you didn't catch my drift. No, I think he's fine with Flake getting the hell out of there, and I think he's fine with Corker getting the hell out of there. Now, here's the other question. Because I think you don't go and give a speech like that if you're Flake, if you're Jeff Flake, unless you're just dipping your toe in the water. Jeff Flake is like, he's walking down to the riverbed. He's moseying on over. Next thing you know, he's just dipping his toe in the water. Dipping. What water? What water? I mean, if he was a trending topic, if people are RTing that speech and saying this is real leadership, well, who knows? A lot of time between right now, as I speak to you on October 25th, 2017, and November 2020. Lot can happen. Lot can happen. You know, Donald Trump could not be the president, right? You know, maybe Donald Trump is the president, but his approval rating is so underwater, even with Republicans, that, you know, maybe I'm not saying I do it. I'm not saying I do it. I'm Jeff Flake. I mean, I'm not saying I'm do it, but like, you know, if I dip my toe in the water and boy, the water was fine, you know, maybe a little 2020. Huh? You want a little Flake in 2020? Huh? Do you want a little 2020? You want a little Barbara Walters, John Stossel, Hugh Downs 2020? That's the curious part. I don't think he's gonna do it. I mean, he refuses to say whether or not this is a Politico story. This is what I love about politics. Nobody gives a rat's ass about what's happening right now. They just want to know what's happening in the next 3 to 4 years. Flake won't rule out 2020 presidential run against Trump. Quote, "We'll deal with it when it comes to it," the Arizona senator says of a possible 2020 run. That's a long way away, he says. "I'm focused on my next 14 months in the Senate, making sure that we get some good policy. There are some good things that I want to accomplish in the short term," Flake told ABC's Good Morning America. I mean, just translated, that's like, you know, no. Unless you want to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it unless you're into it. If you're into it, I'm totally into it. But I'm not going to do it. Guys, I'm not going to run for president in 2020. But seriously, if you're into it, just go ahead and let me know. I'm just going to say, maybe I'll do it. I'll do it if you want me to. But I mean, as of right now, it's a long time away. I still have to serve out my senatorial term. But seriously, if you want to start donating to a super PAC, you totally can. You know, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, ultimately, I think this is more about. I don't even think this is about Kelly Ward so much. And I don't know shit about ass. I'll tell you what I guess this is about. I'm going to guess this is about him not having the fundraising that he needed. Is he looked at his bank account and said, you know, I got somebody running against me that a lot of establishment donors don't like, but maybe the establishment donor base is not what it once was. And now, you know, there are some questions. Do I have the cash? Which, if that's the case, if he can't scurry up a little bit of cash for an Arizona senatorial run, then how is he going to get money to run for president against the sitting president of his own party? So there's Flake. Flake be flaking. One last thing that is kind of related to this. This is from Axios, my new favorite website. Mike Allen, one of the co-founders of Politico. Love Axios. Big shout out to Axios. Everybody, if you see Axios in the street, let them know PX3 has got love for him. Mike Allen does a report every single day. And basically the other lining of this is that with Corker out, with Flake out, and with John McCain just kind of doing John McCain stuff, sick with brain cancer, that effectively Trump has corralled the congressional Republicans. Like, you know, they're going to kvetch privately, but you know, that's it. He's kind of got the ear of everybody that he needs to get the ear of. Also, by the way, do you know that Trump got a standing ovation? Trump got a standing ovation, man. Standing O. You want to know how we know that Donald Trump got a standing ovation? You want to know how I personally know that Donald Trump got a standing ovation? Well, because he decided to mention it a couple times. Decided to mention it. Here we go. This was yesterday. Let's go ahead and take a look at this tweet. So nice being with Republican senators. Multiple standing ovations. Most are great people who want big tax cuts and success for the United States. You want to know what? Like, yes, it's kind of weird to use the term multiple standing ovations. Like, that normally is not something that a president says. Like, you're the president. Everyone knows that everybody around you for the rest of your life is going to either philosophically, metaphorically, or literally blow you. So you don't really need to rub it in that everybody thinks I'm a big deal. You're the president. So that's a little weird. But other than that, it's like, hey, I met with the squad. We're ready. Come at us. Come at us. GOP. And then about 10 hours later, he tweeted this. Meeting with the Republican senators yesterday outside of Flake and Corker was a love fest with standing ovations and great ideas for the USA. Okay. I mean, weird that you mentioned it twice. Like, it was weird that you mentioned it once. It's weirder that you mentioned it twice. Like, now I'm suspicious of the standing ovations. Like, if somebody said, yeah, I went on a date with a girl, man, we made out for a while. I'd be like, okay, a little bit of oversharing. If the next day you're like, man, our date went really, really well. We made out. We made out. I'd be like, why do you keep bringing up the fact that you made out with somebody that you went on a date with? Like, it's not weird that that would happen, right? So then the third tweet happens yesterday. Jeff Flake, with an 18% approval rating in Arizona, said, a lot of my colleagues have spoken out. Really? They just gave me a standing O. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, what the hell? Like, whatever I even want to do, like, devil's advocate with these tweets. Like, what the fuck? Why do you have to bring up the fact that you got a standing ovation? It's just such a weird thing to say, too. Like, not just a very warm thing. Although, I guess, you want to know what? Like there is kind of a method to his madness. Because he's good at drilling down to that one. It's the one weird trick, isn't it? Because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about, for whatever reason, he is fixated on the standing O. And then everybody stood and clapped. Jeez. All right. Hill dogs, don't think you're spared. Hey, 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 hey. Who let the hill dogs out? Big bad news for Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. Today, from the Washington Post. Big story. Headline, Clinton campaign and the DNC paid for research that led to the Russian dossier. And oh yes, we mean that Russian dossier. What I am calling the pistos. We read now from the Washington Post article. The Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee helped fund research that resulted in the now famous dossier containing allegations that President Trump's connections to Russia and possible coordination between his campaign and the Kremlin. People familiar with the matter said. Mark E. Elias, a lawyer representing the Clinton campaign and the DNC, retained Fusion GPS, a Washington firm, to conduct the research. After that, Fusion GPS hired dossier author Chris Steele, a former British intelligence officer with ties to the FBI and the U.S. Intelligence Committee, according to those people who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Now, here's what's interesting about this. Ninja Steve says, I thought we already knew this. there was certainly no. What we previously thought we knew was that Republican donors started paying Fusion GPS, then dropped out. Then it was Democratic donors that did it. The idea that it was the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign is new and has been vigorously denied by the Clinton campaign and DNC's lawyers this entire time. This is a revelation. But I want to show y'all the money here. The money here is what caught my eye. The Clinton campaign paid Perkins Coie $5.6 million in legal fees from June 2015 to December 2016, according to campaign finance records. And the DNC paid the firm $3.6 million in legal and compliance consulting since November 2015. Though it's impossible to tell from the filings exactly how much of that was for other legal matters and how much of it was related to Fusion GPS. Now these people, I guess these are the all right, here's the timeline as this a Washington Post story lays it out. When the Republican donor stopped paying for the research, Elias, acting on behalf of the Clinton campaign and the DNC, agreed to pay for the work to continue. The Democrats paid for the research, including by Fusion GPS, because of their concern was little known about Trump and his business interests, according to people familiar with the matter. At no point did the Clinton campaign or the DNC direct Steele's activities. They described him as a Fusion GPS subcontractor. And by the way, you know that journalists are kind of on the warpath when they start. Let me bring y'all behind the curtain a little bit. These are pissed off journalists. What I'm about to show you are pissed off journalists. Journalists who have relationships with sources that they at least believe that off the record, they can say, okay, for real, tell me that you did or did not do this so I know where to direct my energy. And they get real chesty and real aggressive and like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And then you find out they did. I'm going to show you what a hurt journalist looks like. This is what a butthurt journalist looks like. I'm going to show you. This is Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. Folks involved in funding this lied about it with sanctimony for a year. What you should add in this tweet at Maggie NYT is lied about it to me. Right now there's a comma. What you should really fill in that comma with is to me and my friends with sanctimony for a year. That's just personal. And I don't blame her. Man, that's your job. Don't fucking lie to me. Like, I know there's some shit you can't talk about. Just tell me to move on. Josh Dawsey says, okay, people saying the DNC dossier isn't a big deal. Why did Clinton lawyer Mark Elias and others deny it for months? And meanwhile, Chris Hayes from MSNBC, responding to another tweet that said, first CNN story on the Steele dossier in early January indicated it was funded by the R's, then Clinton supporters. Chris Hayes, again, a television host on MSNBC, says, right, that was always my assumption, although this is somewhat more direct than some independent donor doing it. Man, when Chris Hayes is like, all right, that's kind of different. And you know something's happening. Reverend Fuck says, pissed off journalists about pissed on prostitutes. No, pissing prostitutes. Remember, this is the dossier for which laid out the fact that Donald Trump was so angry about President Obama and had a very specific fetish that he pleasured himself while watching two Russian hookers pee on a bed in a hotel room that Obama had stayed in on a state visit. That was the most salacious element of this dossier. And then that the idea that this was then captured on tape and was spread out to everybody. It was captured on tape and then was used as blackmail for Trump. And Anthony Colangelo points out in the chat, the hotel room equals the presidential suite of the like Ritz-Carlton Moscow, if I remember correctly. All right. Hey, guys, we're about halfway through the show. And we got some good emails and everything. So I'm going to go through some real quick rapid fire stuff. I'm sorry if I'm running over some of it. But we got, by the way, go on to the Patreon, whether or not you are a patron or not, patreon.com/JURY, Monday through Friday for free. You get a list of all the headline stuff that I'm reading. That is Monday through Friday for free. Just head on over, patreon.com/JURY. You don't have to be a patron. You get that on the house. And I got all these links here. So some of the links that are in there, the DNC, still in civil war. They just had a meeting of the party, and it turns out that the Bernie wing and the Clinton wing both still hate each other. There's, again, this great Atlantic story about how all the different expeditions into Middle America wondering how Donald Trump got elected, which is just amazing. Because let me ask you a question. Do you think, and I'm going to ask everybody in a red state, can you enumerate fairly, like in the most non-political terms possible, why Democrats voted for Hillary? Put yourself in their shoes. Try to lay off straw men, right? And just say, why did blue state voters vote for Hillary? And now, blue state voters, I want you to tell me, why do you think red state voters voted for Trump? Because this is just my anecdotal evidence, is that I think the red state voters would be able to enumerate closer to what would come out of the blue state voters' mouths why they would vote for Hillary. So somebody in Lawrence, Kansas would be able to say why somebody in New York voted for Hillary. But somebody in New York would not be able to say why somebody in Lawrence, Kansas would say they voted for Trump. And here's why. It's just because there's more media that comes out of these places, out of LA and New York. I mean, do you think somebody in Missouri who is never going to go to Manhattan, I think that they know that traffic's bad. They know that it's where the Late Show emanates from. They know who the mayor is very often, right? There's just a lot of media that comes out of liberal places. So it always is funny to me when you look at like, oh my God, Johnson, it appears that that there are other people in this country. I got it. Let's head on out there and find out why they voted the way they did. Careful. Don't get too close. You might get bit and come up racist. So that's very funny. All right, let's get into my two favorite stories. Number one, Alex Jones. If you're not familiar, Alex Jones sells supplements. You know, I just want to. As soon as I start working out, you know, I just get all this aggression. Do yourself a favor. Do not agree to be cucked by the fluoride in your water. Get these supplements at Infowars.com/shop. And who did this? Who was the organization? Independent testing commissioned by National Health Watchdog, the Center for Environmental Health, found high levels of lead in 2 Alex Jones Infowars products. Tests found that 2 supplements sold on Alex Jones's Proposition 65 limit, sold on Alex Jones's Infowars store, contains significant levels of lead, well in excess of California's Proposition 65 limits. Lead is a dangerous chemical known to have devastating developmental effects on children. Crucial but less well known are the effects on men, including sperm damage, heart disease, and high blood pressure. One of the Alex Jones products tested had more than 6 times the daily limit under Proposition 65. Now, let me be fair here. I don't know what this organization is. They're in Oakland. I could go say hi. I don't know what the Center for Environmental Health is, and for all I know, they could just be a hit piece on Alex Jones. But Alex Jones supplements deadening the sperm is for somebody who is an alpha, has a real alpha kind of thing. It's funny. It's a funny thing. It's like, buy my supplements so you might all become my betas. And Anthony in the Twitch chat points out, isn't everything over a California legal limit? Fair point. Very fair point. But then here's, like, listen, I am all in on the I mentioned on Jury yesterday that I find the idea of this Me Too campaign where women are coming out and talking about times that they were sexually harassed. I think that is not only good, I think it is important. I think it sheds a light on some shit that should be more in front of everybody's face. And it is something that I think is societally important. And I think this can be a little funny. This is the headline. President George H.W. Bush apologizes to actress who alleged improper touching. Former President George H.W. Bush has apologized to an actress who accused him of improperly touching her and telling a dirty joke during a photo opportunity 4 years ago. Here's his apology. President Bush would never, under any circumstances, intentionally cause anyone distress. He most sincerely apologizes if his attempt at humor offended Miss Lind. Who's Miss Lind? Well, it's Heather Lind. She's an actress who stars in the AMC series Turn. And she wrote this on an Instagram. I found it disturbing because I recognize the respect of ex-presidents are given for having served. And I feel pride and reverence toward many of the men in the photo. This is the photo of the president's event that just took place. It was Bush and Carter and Bush and Clinton and Obama. All the presidents were all together. And so this lady is commenting on that. But when I got a chance to meet George H.W. Bush 4 years ago to promote a historical television show I was working on, he sexually assaulted me while I was posing for a similar photo. He didn't shake my hand. He touched me from behind, from his wheelchair, while his wife, Barbara Bush, stood by his side. He told me a dirty joke. And then, all while being photographed, touched me again. Barbara rolled her eyes as if to say, no, not again. His security guard told me I shouldn't have stood next to him in the photo. So they have the photo down here. Oh, man, I guess maybe they don't. We can try to see if we can find it. But you can look it up. Just if we search, hell, we'll look at it right now. Bush Lind photo. Here's the picture. Let's get a little zoom in here. So you can see, like, on a scale from 0 to Taylor Swift picture, where that one dude had, like, obviously just, like, a handful of that ass, this definitely looks like he's got his hand somewhere in the lower back to butt region. Now, granted, it's a little less egregious in that he's in a wheelchair, so if he were to reach up to her shoulder, that would be a little, that would be odd, if not impossible. So, I don't know. I think there's definitely, I think, if that lady got her butt grabbed by the 41st president of the United States, that I believe her. I believe that H.W. grabbed that ass. I believe that George H.W. Bush stands for handful. Whoa. I don't know. I mean, listen, nobody's here for the white guy to say, well, I don't know if that was sexual assault, so I'm not going to play referee on that. I find it wholly possible that through whatever means, that dude wound up with a hand on her ass and told her a joke that probably wouldn't be there in polite company. He's also, I guess at that time, 89 years old with Parkinson's. So, I mean, listen, dude, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on there. I'm not going to play referee on sexual assault. I'm not here for that. I just like talking about the idea that George H.W. Bush might have grabbed that ass, though. Fuck, I don't know if I have time for this. I feel like I want to do a whole you want to know what? I'm going to do a whole episode on this because I got to record a canned politics. So you want to know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I want you guys to email in with this premise because I'm going to do a whole episode on it. All the presidents at the time that they were inaugurated into the office, all right, play a game of real life PUBG, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. If you are unfamiliar with this video game, the premise is very simple. I think it's like 50 people parachute onto an island. It's kind of like an abandoned military barracks. There's guns in abandoned houses. There's weapons. There's vehicles. And the map, the place that you are allowed to be in, gets smaller and smaller and smaller until only one person survives. All right? All 45 presidents parachute. That means Grover Cleveland twice. Parachute onto that island. Who wins? Who wins? That's the question. That's what I want to know from you guys. I'm going to spend a whole episode on this. I'll bring in some other people. We will do our best to talk about it. I'm seeing a lot of like Jackson. I'm seeing a lot of but is Jackson going to know how to use a lot of those automatic weapons? Right? I don't know. You gotta. I would say that the bigger thought is what president was closest to active duty military service. Think about that. Just email me your thoughts, theyoungamerican@gmail.com, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. We'll do a whole fucking episode on this. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go ahead and get in to your friend's Mazda because he has recommended that he be the designated driver. I want you to take that little drive on down the road. I want you to go behind the velvet rope and let loose the carnal pleasure of surveys. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the PX3.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
This is a pole dance for the Florida Senate as directed by the University of North Florida, taken from October 11th to October 17th. That is 706 likely voters. Let's go ahead and get on into it, folks. Please welcome, first to the stage, He is the current sitting governor of the Sunshine State of Florida. Please give it up with 36% of the vote. Rick Scott! But your headliner, with 37% of the vote, he is the sitting, reigning, defending Democratic senator from Florida. Let's give it up with 37% of the vote for Yes, that is Nelson over Scott with a thin 1-point spread between the two. Remember, this is one of those Senate seats that the Republicans really want to pick up to almost make it impossible for there to be any kind of Senate flip. And it looks kind of likely. Florida was a state that overperformed nationally for Donald Trump. Rick Scott has been on the Trump train for a while. He is not universally beloved in Florida, but also Nelson is not, he's popular, but he's not wildly popular in some of the most Democratic enclaves of my home state of Florida. Although, by the way, we got to start planning out for 2018. We got to start planning out for 2020. But I want to do some pole dance events in actual strip clubs. I would like that. I would like that a lot. I think that would be very funny. Specifically if it meant going home. Mostly because I know all those strip clubs. Anyway, The Young American at gmail.com is where you can write us. But your emails are always precious and delightful. We begin now with Just Another Pilot. Just Another Pilot writes, "Hello, Justin, I got a question. Are politics moving faster, or have they always moved this fast, and we just now see it because of the coverage? It seems like we, the people, want this press coverage, but there's so much now because it is lucrative that we are just getting junk. Maybe this is the real pace of day-to-day politics and why we're always frustrated with politicians. I think about my own career and how specialized it is, and I can remember telling people something that would be happening in the industry that never happened. I can't tell you why it never happened because I moved on to other things that needed doing. Maybe the truth is we really should embrace our representative democracy and stop pretending that we aren't going to have some pseudo-direct democracy because we don't have the attention span. With that said, please, God, keep doing this podcast. I need it. Well, thank you so much. I think these are the politics. Listen, there's a reason why The Hill's been around forever. There's a reason why Politico grew up so fast. It's because there was always inside the Beltway stuff. It was just nerdy. If anything, it's almost more glamorous now. Celebrities are talking about it more. It's broken out of the political kind of underclass. It was the reason why I didn't want to do this show past the election. Because in general, most of y'all, just another pilot, you normally stop caring about politics. I normally stop caring about politics. I'm normally only here for the elections. I love the elections. I keep in touch with stuff, but I'm not all up in, every poll for every Senate race. I think it's just, we're still getting used to unlimited information. That's the biggest thing. Dav writes, I'm here on my last leg of a trip to Los Angeles, waiting for some friends of mine so we can go for breakfast, and I got some rando U.S. news channel running in my hotel room where they're going on and on about Steve Bannon at some California Republican meetup. Now, granted, I'm not from the United States, but at a short glance, this Bannon dude seems like he's got a real stick up his butt about breaking up the Republican Party. Looks a lot to me like the Night of the Long Knives. Oh, Jesus. But instead of actual murder being the goal, it's political Carter murder. And to what end? For what purpose? I don't know for sure. But if Christopher Hitchens has taught us anything about his trips to oppressive regimes, it's that they don't care that they're not unique and that there's zero nuance to their ideological goals. If you ask me, as a disaffected Canadian nihilist who was mere hours from boarding a plane back to Kanuckistani motherland, that guy and his suspected a hyper right-wing endgame, plus a growing fascist underground in the conservative U.S., just saying, even the Nazi party started out with a bunch of lunatics in a rented-out basement one night a week. You guys might want to keep an eye on that. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that Steve Bannon is a Nazi. I don't think that he is. I think he is on a kamikaze mission to explode the Republican Party. And that alone makes him unique. But I don't think he's a Nazi. Nor do I think that he is trying to set up a Nazi regime. I do think that he has certain apocalyptic worldviews. I think he genuinely believes that either China will be a hegemon to the United States or the United States will be a hegemon to China. I think that he believes that fully and completely. And he does not care whose toes he has to step on because he views that as life and death. Andrew, a pro-registration gun owner, writes, I understand where Eric, who an emailer last week, is coming from, but I have a big problem with the argument that when something is regulated, it's easy to take. It assumes that the end goal is taking people's guns away. While I'm sure that there are some absolutists out there, the goal for most people is decreasing gun deaths. Look at Australia. They implemented registration and gun deaths went down, and nobody who matters is talking about banning guns anymore. The fear is that the U.S. government, the fear that the U.S. government will come for our guns is irrational. To do it legally would require constitutional amendments, difficult at the best of times, and I wouldn't be surprised if we never see another one. And if anyone in the government tried to get the military and or police to take the guns illegally, they'd be in a cell before you could say Uniform Code of Military Justice. I suppose if a military junta overthrew the government, they might come for your guns. But at that point, we'd be in an open revolt, so it won't matter if they know my address. To the point about registering old guns. Doesn't have to be mandatory. I imagine many people like me who aren't traditionally afraid of having our guns taken away will register. And if Eric and others like him don't, then they never use their guns for a crime or sell them to somebody who does, it's a net zero for gun deaths. Meanwhile, new guns will have to be registered and sales tracked, same way we do with cars. And over time, the only people left with guns will be that are a problem will be people like me and Eric, and gun homicides will decrease. This doesn't solve the Las Vegas problem, of course, but it could stop some of the couple hundred shootings that have happened besides the Las Vegas incident so far. Listen, man, I'm not going to get into the gun stuff necessarily right now. I think it's very complicated, and I do think that right now we have a particularly stunted conversation about it. And I don't think that we're in any way to me, this conversation between Andrew and Eric is good. Two people who own guns talking about what the restrictions should be. I would prefer if that were the national dialogue. And then people could kind of piggyback on top of it. Because I think there are a lot of gun owners that are like, hey, you want to know what? It's a little uncomfortable to me how fast I could buy this. That's fine. Even hunters. I think that there are a lot of solutions for this, and nobody's talking about any of them because everybody's dug their heels in on pro-gun versus anti-gun. I would like to hear two pro-gun people talk about ways to reduce shootings. You know? And even if the answer is nothing, right? I just would like to hear that dialogue. All right, here's my favorite part of the episode. Y'all ready for it? This is from a reader, Steven. Some of y'all might remember we read a quote from I believe it was a Nebraska state official who said that a 9-year-old knows that Russia was trying to affect the election. All right? A 9-year-old would know it. So God bless Steven. Steven has a 9-year-old and asked his 9-year-old whether or not she was aware that Russia was affecting the election. Here we go. Here is that audio.
Kelsey, how old are you?
I am 9.
9 years old. I'm going to ask you a question. Justin, she is completely not ready for this. She has no idea this is coming.
I just got home, so I have no idea.
Kelsey, is it clear to you that the Russians are messing with the Americans and Donald Trump?
By the way, +3 dad points, because I think the quote was, it's totally obvious that the Russians are fucking, and he changed it to messing. +3 dad points, Steven.
On Facebook.
Yes.
How do you know that?
They told us in school.
They told you in school. What did they tell you in school?
This guy named Grayson talks about Trump a lot.
And what did he say?
I just remember something about Trump in that thing.
In Facebook?
Yeah, something like that.
There we go. Even a 9-year-old does know. Even a 9-year-old knows. Thank you so much, Steven, for sending that in. That was adorable. If you would like to send in anything to this show, it is theyoungamerican@gmail.com. A few things to remind you guys about. Again, November 18th. November 18th. If you are in the Philadelphia area, Philadelphia. Shot Tower Coffee. We are going to be having a live Politics show. I am very excited about it. I am simultaneously very, very nervous that nobody's going to show up. So, if you are within driving distance of the Shot Tower Coffee Shop in Philadelphia, then please come on out and check it out. It is going to be November 18th, 7 p.m. Earlier that day, I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged talking about the card games. Later that night, Politics live at PAX or at Shot Tower Coffee. Shot Tower Coffee, Philadelphia, November 18th. Very, 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 very excited about that. One more time, email theyoungamerican@gmail.com if you would like to have your emails read on this show. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. You can follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. Come join our Discord, bit.ly/jurypolitics, JURY politics. And, of course, download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. Support the show at patreon.com/JURY. Remember, some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. Still more, man, they talk about politics, but this is the only show that talks about all three. We will see you guys next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom, boom.